Video, we're going to be talking about Azor Ahai. Based on what we see in episode 3 of the final season, The Long Night, we are led to believe that Arya Stark might be the long-promised Azor Ahai. So the prophecy goes, there will come a day after a long summer when the stars bleed and the cold breath of darkness falls heavy on the world. In this dread hour, a warrior shall draw from the fire a burning sword, and that sword shall be Lightbringer, the red sword of heroes, and he who clasps it shall be Azor Ahai come again, and the darkness shall flee before him. Melisandre is the biggest proponent of this prophecy on the show, and her sudden appearance in this episode, coupled with a long lingering stare at Arya before all the action begins, makes us think that there's some credence to this question. Melisandre told Arya back in season 3 that she would shut many eyes, including blue eyes, forever. And as we see in this episode, Arya immediately realizes that the blue eyes means the Night King and rushes off. Melisandre also mentions that Beric has been brought back to life by the Lord of Light for this very purpose, to save Arya so she could fulfill her destiny. Melisandre has historically been wrong in predicting who the savior is, at one point in time believing it to be Stannis and then Jon Snow as well. But given what we saw in this episode, including her dying at the very end, signifying that her role in the story has come to an end, makes us think that Arya Stark might be the one who was promised. There was no burning sword that killed the Night King, but maybe prophecies don't have to be true word to word. This episode is also titled The Long Night, and the prince who was promised was supposed to save everyone from darkness at the end of the long night. Although Arya technically is the princess, the word for prince in High Valyrian is gender neutral. Melisandre also repeats the phrase taught to Arya by her sparring master Syrio Forel, which further spurns Arya into doing what she does, which is stab the Night King with the same knife given to her by Bran. This also proves that Bran had an idea of what the outcome of the face-off with the Night King might have been. So is that it for the Night King? We're personally a little peeved that that's all the Night King has to offer to the show. But if that is what it is, then the last 3 episodes are going to focus on the Game of Thrones of old. Politics, warring between man, and deciding who the ultimate ruler of the 7 kingdoms is going to be.
For those who are completely unaware of who the Night King is, and it's hard to believe that someone who has no interest in the Game of Thrones series or books will be watching this, let's recap for a moment. For starters, the Night King is a character that, at least as of yet, is not depicted in George R.R. Martin's books. It appears that this character is the sole creation of the writers of Game of Thrones HBO series. There are probably a few reasons why this decision was made. First is that in the series of books, the Others, or White Walkers, are a mysterious force of undead that wander beyond the Wall and pose a direct threat to mankind. Throughout the books, they are mentioned, but rarely seen, and as of this video, they represent a storm on the horizon that only a few people even believe are real. This works fine in the novels, since as the reader, we are omnipotent, and see all things happening as they unfold throughout the entire world. We can make connections that the characters themselves cannot, because we have information that they do not know about. But making a TV show is quite different. Unless you are prepared to fill your show with lengthy and boring exposition or direct narration, generally you keep things mysterious and hidden so that you can surprise your viewers with a big reveal or payoff later on. The Game of Thrones HBO series has masterfully crafted the books into a viewable experience for 8 years. Doing so has been a monumental effort and success overall. In translating the books to an on-screen story that is both coherent and entertaining, the writers had to make various story decisions so that an average viewer could digest the sweeping epic over many years. In order to achieve this, many characters from the novels have been cut or combined. And so comes the Night King. Unlike other characters that are an amalgamation of several characters in the books, the Night King is a direct creation. The writers probably felt that the nebulous threat of the White Walkers needed a face or physical manifestation beyond a mindless undead horde. This gives the threat life and embodies its presence. However, the creation of a new character that is not part of the books presents a new problem. How does this character fit into the narrative as a whole? What is the character's motivation? Why do they exist? What part do they play that is an advancement of the story? Up until Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones, the Night King remained wrapped in a mystery. Some information was revealed about him throughout the series. He was a creation of the Children of the Forest in their war against the First Men. He accepted a tribute of newborn male children from Craster, but largely his motivation was unknown. There were illusions of a connection between him and Bran. Some industrious people from online communities made connections between the Night King and a character of Game of Thrones lore called the Night's King, and believed there was some reveal awaiting viewers about this history. Furthermore, many other videos and commentators have noted that George R.R. Martin has been quoted as specifically saying that he does not like evil characters that are evil just for the sake of being evil, and his story thus far has supported this. Even the despicable Ramsay Bolton, formerly Snow, had an understandable, albeit flawed, motivation. He so wished to be legitimized as a Bolton that he flayed men as his house sigil depicted in an effort to legitimize himself, even if no one else would. Ultimately, this worked out for Ramsay as he was finally legitimized as a true son of Roose. This is exactly why the Night King's story is such an epic letdown. In the end, there was no big revelation about his existence. He was, in fact, evil for the sake of being evil. His sole motivation was to destroy the world of men. This and other factors have led to fairly robust criticism of what should have been a penultimate episode of the Game of Thrones. It is filled with mesmerizing scenes of battle and sacrifice, jaw-dropping moments of anxiety as the dead swarm the castle and at times even fall from the sky like rain. But the simplistic and predictable death of the Night King and all of his thralls dampens the spirit of the story. Nothing is revealed. In Episode 2 of Season 8, the characters muse that killing the Night King, a persona of which they have no in-depth knowledge, will kill all his followers. And this is proved 100% true. A lucky guess, I suppose. Toward the end of Episode 3, the Night King stands over Bran menacingly, a moment usually reserved for the villain to reveal his intentions. But then Arya Stark drops from above and kills him, shattering him and the entire story arc into a million pieces. Yes, the heroes have saved the world. Yes, now they can focus on Cersei and the Golden Company. But wouldn't the characters of the story themselves have some serious questions about what just happened? Look at the epic amount of sacrifice it took to get here. Look at the mountains of dead. What was it all for? Why did it happen? Who was this Night King character? Hey Sam, good guess about the Dragonfire not being able to kill him, even though it could kill all his followers. And conversely, good thing that Valyrian steel could kill him, just like it could kill all his followers. In the end, it feels like the Night King did very little to advance the story, except killing a few relatively unimportant characters, and reducing the number of soldiers available for the war to come. Although it's entirely possible he has not even accomplished that. As we have seen in previous seasons, massive battles have been fought with immense loss of life, only to have the armies rebuilt in short order to march forward into the next meat grinder. For example, Stannis leads his men in an assault on King's Landing, where they are eviscerated in the Battle of the Blackwater. But after a few months, he has built a new army and sails to the Wall to help Jon Snow in his battle with the Wildlings. Jon leads an army of men in the Battle of the Bastards against the newly minted Ramsay Bolton, and his men are surrounded and slaughtered to such a degree that the bodies are piled 15 deep. He is ultimately saved by the Knights of the Vale, and a few months later, the army of the North is rebuilt, reinforced, and ready to fight the army of the Night King. The Lannisters, fresh off their annihilation of House Tyrell, are attacked by Daenerys and her dragons. The large portion of their forces and supplies are burned to a crisp. Several months later, Cersei has rebuilt and reinforced her position with the Golden Company. There seems to be no shortage of men available for the endless slaughter. If in fact murdering a lot of men was all the Night King could muster, then why does his story exist at all? So far, the murder of men has filled the entire show and had very minimal impact on the main characters or story. Perhaps more will be revealed in the coming episodes, since there was very little dialogue in this episode and Bran went away for most of the show warged into a murder of crows. But I find it doubtful that anything revealed will have much meaning at this point. The threat is gone, learning its purpose now seems a day late and a dollar short. If anything of great import needed to be revealed, it should have been done when the stakes were at their highest. This would have led to a more fulfilling story arc for the Night King, and a better understanding by both the characters and viewers of exactly what was going on and why everyone was there. HBO has indicated that there is a prequel in the works called The Long Night, which will likely delve deeper into the existence of the Night King and fill in the necessary backstory that was thus far omitted. But I still contend this information would have been better served by being delivered at least in part prior to Season 8, Episode 3. Instead, viewers, if they still care, and they probably do since the Game of Thrones has such a huge following, will have to wait several years for the prequel to be released. And that's if it ever does get released, since show productions are canceled all the time.
Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. This is going to be a really quick video. I just want to break it down. I don't want to bore you guys, but I want to let you all know what I think and what I think is going to happen over these last 2 episodes. Now, I think that Daenerys is pretty much obvious at this point. She's going to become the Mad Queen. It's pretty much shown right here with these clips that I just showed you right after Missandei's death. That was a final stepping stone. This was a final thing that pushed her over the edge. This close-up, that powerful shot, that was just a beautiful scene. That's just power right there. It's pretty much letting you know what's gonna happen. Daenerys becoming Mad Queen. It's 100% it's just 100% at this point. And on top of that, she has Jon as competition now, and he's a true heir to the Iron Throne, way more than her actually. She obviously doesn't like that either. And the final thing is that she saw her dragon die. Combine all of these things, and she's pretty pissed. She's gonna become the Mad Queen.